Now, if, as your base of your thumb indicates, we see you drawn to obsession, this could lead you down a road where you take actions which are not beneficial to you. And you could end up harming those you care about and letting yourself in captivity. Whether that be legally or through other means, I cannot say. So I implore you to be very careful with obsession. Remember the hypothetical of what could come if you don't control your passion. Welcome to Tingledom. I'd just like to take a moment to look at you, all of you, the outside, the inner, and the soul all around can help me to read further when I look onto your palm. Yes. You'll see here our representation of the hand, and I will be going through bit by bit by bit to scrutinize what it can tell us about your future and about your past. So you can present your palm to me. Yes, thank you. So the line of the heart is the top line, right here. Let me just look at yours. So if we see here, yours begins just below your index finger. Indicates that you are content with your life, the love life portion. And it's actually quite unique there because if we scrutinize it even closer, we can see it's not just one, but a double impression. And this double line, let's just scrutinize it even closer, indicates that you are good at expressing love and are unique in that you can accept two relationships at once. Polyamory is a good way to go about this. Adultery is not. Now, if we see the end curving upward, you see that? This shows verbal dexterity and your ability to speak about love. So your lovers would be express yourself well. Next, we move to the line of the head, running through the middle of your hand. And let me look. It has roughly medium length, so it reaches your ring finger, not going any further. This is the most common. It shows you are smart with very great potential. So as long as your motivations are correct, you shall be able to use that intellect for good. You may notice, if you look down with me here, it's a little wavy, represents many interests and perhaps a short attention span. No need to look guilty. We are who we are. You'll notice down at the bottom here you're curving downward, so your love line and your headline diverge. Let me just, yes, quite a curve down, indicating a strong imagination and ability to dream, but counterbalanced by a strong drive by emotion, which can be positive or negative depending on how you harness that. Now this is the one people always want to know about. It's your lifeline. So if you see it, it almost curves around your thumb, an extension of the thumb. You think about the power of the thumb among all of the fingers, and your life force is represented in the thumb. So let me look here at your lifeline. You have a line that runs close to the thumb, which can indicate that you're often quite tired, because you see how it being closer to the thumb decreases the power. But, yes, there's a circle on your lifeline. It indicates a time when you were quite ill, perhaps even hospitalized. Yes. And how old were you? No, that's exactly what I can see there. And you can see that with where it goes along the line. Yeah, fairly early on, indicating your childhood. Now let me just look to see. The last we see is you have a bit of a break in the line. So it goes like this, and then this sudden break. It's not all continuous. And that can be indicative of a major life change. Some might call it a midlife crisis, and that could be into your future, considering your age. What is taken from a break in the lifeline is a need to embrace the changes that come and to let them snowball and take you off to a completely new direction. can be very beneficial for you. Yes. So don't worry about what may feel like a catastrophe at the time. You can rise again like a phoenix to even greater heights. Now that covers our 3 basic lines, but of course there's so much more. So let us now look at your fate line. This runs fairly straight through the hand, directly through the middle. And let's look to yours. You are strongly controlled by fate. So very deep lies can indicate that the fates have a major role to play in your life. Now we also see, if you look here with me, begins to join your lifeline. This means you're a self-created individual with lots of ideas, and the fates will smile favorably if you embrace and chase those ideas. Now we want to look at the mounts on your hand. So we have our Venus mount, Jupiter, Saturn, Apollo, and Mercury. Venus is your largest mount. This can indicate that you like instant gratification. Perhaps not the most patient, but as long as you are patient with the fates, I think they'll smile favorably on you. Now let's look to your Jupiter mount. Can't see it at all. You see that here? We're looking in this area. You're looking for these sort of lines and creases, and we have no mount there. Now this can indicate a lack of self-confidence, or perhaps dishonesty. As I said, we are who we are. Next is your Saturn mount. Let's look here. Yeah, it looks fairly low. This indicates disorganization and superficiality that can lead to depression. So you can be counterbalanced by someone who has good organization, or in your case, perhaps a couple of people. Now let me look at your Apollo mount. Very, very large. That looks very large. This is indicating that you're prideful, quick-tempered. You can't hide it from me. You knew that when you were coming to this session. But the positive side is it shows a keen interest in the arts and literature. So that may be some consolation for your lovers in understanding the two sides of that mount. Now let us look to your final mount, your Mercury, quite small, which means you're shy and unwilling to work hard. As I said, and you're much controlled by fate, so there's very little you'll be able to do to change that. But it looks like your fortunes may change anyhow. It doesn't always take hard work, so sometimes it's just a bit of luck. Now we'll want to move to the phalanges. The phalanges are the lines that you see when you crease your hand. They run across the fingers, and they can tell us very, very much. So I'll just trace your index finger. Just run my finger along it as I look. In your first phalange on the index finger, you have vertical lines. This is a sign of leadership and someone who follows their religion with devotion. The crosses on your second phalange, quite different from your first phalange. This shows a tendency to manipulate and lie, which of course we already knew. And then on your third phalange, we also have vertical lines. This was originally thought to be for someone who is well organized, but we can obviously see with you that that was quite incorrect. While there are some who show a certain aptitude toward organization, I find it more often indicates someone with great potential, but who's held back a bit by fear. For example, someone who may go into a workplace where they would be able to go up the ranks, but doesn't do the required actions in order to make that progress. But the fates are on your side. We'll see what they determine. Now let's move to your middle finger here. Your first phalange. Let's look closer. Those vertical lines indicates a certain pride in responsibility, that you are well equipped to be happy with the work that you do. Now let's look at your second phalange. So there's deep horizontal lines. This can indicate an aptitude for academics. Can also indicate, do you see the way they interact with each other, these horizontal lines? That can indicate that you are sometimes told one thing, but believe another, and there's this constant battle going on between that. Yes, even that sort of thing we can tell by looking into your palm. Now let's look to your third phalange. Oh, a bit more unique here. Can you see this? See how it's not really lines, but we call them grills. Grills on the third phalange of the index finger are something that indicates that perhaps you have a tendency to bite off a bit more than you can perhaps your ambition outstrips your abilities. And with that, as I say, you are who you are. So now let us move to your ring finger. Look here at the first flange. And what I see here is less indicative of a permanent state, so that can be positive. And it indicates that you're stressed because of something blocking you from achieving what you would like to in your creative life. Oh, we can see it all. Now to your second phalange. And you can see the horizontal lines just looking at the nature of these lines. Oh, lots of interference with creative expression showing through on this particular finger. This indicates, rather than in a particular creative expression, that there is a block in your general creative expression. And these are things that can be worked with. It may actually come after that large break in your life. So not to worry too extensively. And your third phalange. Yes, you've got crosses. And this one makes me a bit sad. So crosses on the third phalange of the ring finger indicate somebody who is obsessed with perfection. So you may find yourself always thinking that what you do is not good enough, and that you can not attain the necessary level, which is perhaps why you find yourself dishonest, why you lie, and perhaps why you're sometimes a bit lazy as well. But the fates are smiling on you, and they would want you to know that to be imperfect is human nature. And if you can embrace that imperfection, be able to move forward in your life. Definitely. Now let us look to your ring finger. The first phalange has horizontal lines, indicative that you perhaps are a bit boastful or braggy. Now this boastfulness and bragginess can come from a sense of stress, which is connected to that last phalange that we were looking at. It could be related, of course, to your perfectionism. But while you can handle two loves at once, the two of them may not be able to handle you if you persist with boasting and bragging. You may want to keep those boasts and brags internal. Now let's look to your second phalange. Horizontal lines indicating problems in personal relationships. Perhaps you are monogamous right now. Well, monogamous, but embracing your two loves aspect. The big break may come when you resolve that issue in your last phalange here. Yes, have a look. This is indicative of good articulate communication. We find this on a lot of people who would make good salespeople. Perhaps that's a new avenue you could pursue. The fates may smile on that particular aim. Now we end, as always, with the thumb, the source and representation of our power. It's the most important digit for showing us the truest part of our nature. So there's still a bit of luck for you. Don't forget. On your first phalange, let us see. So we have grills there. You can see that. This is indicative of someone who has scattered priorities, who may take on too much, again with the taking on more than you can, may have a hard time achieving their goals because of that scattered priority. Now let's look to the second phalange. Let's see. This is very promising. You have vertical lines on the second phalange. This is indicative of somebody who has good logic and is a sign of good common sense. So you may be able to get yourself out of the pickles that you've gotten yourself into. Now, as we see, you have the first and the second phalange, and it's a bit hard, and this is part of the reason you come to a professional, is to look and see where the base of the thumb is. So I just need you to make this motion. What I'm looking for is where our base of the thumb is. Yes. Thank you. Yes, if you can stay like, oh, right there, that's perfect. Crosses. Definitely crosses. This is about passion, all-consuming passion, which many call obsession. It's very important to be careful with obsession, particularly when it comes to regards to the heart. We don't want that break we see in your lifeline to be carting off to prison or the like. You want to be very, very careful. Now that is what I have seen in your poem today. Overall, remember the fates are with you. Look out for the trepidation that can come from your inclination towards obsession and double love, but embrace the positive aspects of your mind as well. Your good common sense, your good communication. These can carry you further to where you are next going in your life. I trust, as I've seen in your poem, that I shall see